Okay, so let's continue the party with developing Web3. This video, what I want to do, I want to spice up that website a little bit more. We got a beautiful NFT mint portal designed in ReactJS talking to the Web3 wallet. In this case, it's talking to MetaMask. So now we need to give more information to that website because we just have a mint site, right? And you want to give the potential buyers or the existing buyers a statistic display on the site that shows information such as how many tokens are available on the contract. Let's say we got X amount of tokens minted on the smart contract, but we only have X amount available. We want to make sure that we give this information out to the users so they are aware of how many NFTs do we have left on the smart contract, so they can make a decision if they want to actually purchase one before they run out. So that's a good strategy. Another great strategy is to give out holder information. Let's say we want to list the top token holders, or in this case, the top wallets holding NFTs on the collection. So it's just a statistic. It brings a lot of excitement on the project, and it gives more information to the buyer that the developers or whoever it's behind the collection, it's actually giving more information than just simply saying that we're buying, we're selling a collection, but nothing else to support what the collection is about or some activity. Ideally, you want to give out your buyers, your potential buyers, more information about the collection, right? And this brings a lot of hype onto the site, brings a lot of attention, and that's what we want, because at the end we want to sell, we want to make sure that our project is successful. And then with that information, you can build a database for users, so you can keep your users updated as the project progresses, right? Okay, what are we doing in this video is we are going to cover what is an API and how can we leverage an API call. So basically, the API is an application program interface. It allows us to connect to a non-web-based, or basically a backend interface on the application, so we can export or import data. We can write or read data from and to the application itself. So what will that give us? It's going to give us a faster method to call or interact with a particular application. So with an API call, I can basically, let's say I can execute a listing. Let's say we want to list something, but we don't want to go into the web browser and go to the GUI and click a bunch of buttons and fill forms. We can perform an API call, and the API call in a single instruction is just going to configure everything for us. Why is that beneficial for us? It is beneficial because we can automate a lot of the tasks that someone will need to manually spend an entire day doing in just a matter of seconds. So we can actually code that. And not only that, we can grab specific information from a particular application. So let's say we want to know just the token holders of the smart contract. Why I need to know the entire list of wallet holders, or how many mint transactions have been made and all that, if I can just do an API call to get that particular information only, right? So that brings a lot of flexibility and a lot of ease of use. By doing an API call, you're technically saving time because someone else already did the hard work. Let me explain that. So let's say we have a website. We're going to be interacting with Etherscan. Etherscan, we know that's the blockchain explorer for Ethereum. I can do exactly the same thing that I'm going to be doing in our demo API call, but instead of us trying to develop a JavaScript code from scratch to get a particular information straight from the blockchain, we can just leverage the information that is already publicly available from the block explorer. So we don't need to code anything from scratch. The information has been already exported by the block explorer. We can take advantage of that. Why don't we just do an API call and grab whatever the block explorer already knows about the smart contract, and we just, make sure that we list that on our site. That's definitely a way simpler approach. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that why reinvent the wheel if it's already invented. You know what I mean? If there's already a website that has the information that we need, and if the website allows API calls, we can leverage that and literally just call the website via an API call and obtain only the information that we need. We'll throw that on our website and call it a day. We can still grab the information from the smart contract, but the difference between that and doing an API call is that I don't have to tell the user to connect their wallet in order for us to display a particular information on the site. Because remember, every time that we want to find info, we want to read information from the blockchain, we need to establish a Web3 connection to the smart contract. And how do we do that? We do that by connecting our wallet. After we connect our wallet to the blockchain using Web3, we will then obtain the information straight from the smart contract. We can do that. That's also possible. But why don't we leverage an API call instead of requiring users to connect their wallet just to get information, right? So that's where we are. Let's start. I am going to jump on the server and we'll begin the API tutorial. Okay, so let me expand this. I hope you can see the screen. Let me move this to the side. Okay, awesome. So the last time we left the video, our last video was we fixed a Webpack issue that was requested by some of our audience. Now what we need to do, first of all, you know what? First of all, let's make the Visual Studio Code a little bit more enjoyable, right? Because right now it's not customized. So I'm just gonna do we're just gonna have a higher contrast because as you can see, I need to wear glasses. I need to see everything very clear, very crisp. So let's fix that. So what I'm gonna do, I am going to go to the extensions. Let me go here. And first of all, I'm gonna say high contrast. Let's see what we can find. This is add-ons that we can install to our IDE, to Visual Studio Code. So in this case, I'm going to select this one, which is a more darker. It gives more appeal to our. There you go, to our IDE. So that looks way better. And I can select green. That looks amazing. Okay, next thing that I'm going to add to my IDE will be the icons. You know what? Because this looks very dull. It's the default icon pack that we have on Visual Studio. There's one that is quite cool, and it gives more more friendliness to our scripts. Okay, so that is installed. We can set this file icon team. Done. Let me see if it's now. Oh, perfect. You can see now. Now look at that. Now it gives us the code logo or the language logo on the left. So that looks way better. Okay, awesome. Cool. Now, what we need to do, we are going to install something called Axios. It's a library that allows ReactJS to perform an API call. Okay. So with that, we can then invoke an API call and we can go from there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now to do IPMI as an install Axios. Okay, press enter. We're installing Axios. Once that's done, then we can continue. Awesome. Axios has been installed. Okay, one thing that I have to explain before we continue, it's the fact that every API call either has to be authenticated or it can be a public API call, which does not require an API key. We need to talk about Etherscan. So Etherscan allows us to do the API call. And what are we looking from an Etherscan perspective? Let's go back. And what I'm gonna do first, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna go to my smart contract. I'm gonna copy this address because we wanna find the information on Etherscan of this particular smart contract and see what we need to export, or what we want to export in this demonstration. So what we're gonna do, It's basically we're gonna look for this smart contract. I don't see anything. Oh, I know why, because this is not the mainnet. This contract was deployed in the Wrinkleby testnet. Remember, the smart contract will not be available on the mainnet unless it's deployed on the mainnet. Okay, so this is deployed here. I should see the contract here, and boom, there we go. We got the contract. Awesome. Okay, so right now, oh, you know what? Also, I have to show you how to, this is basically the amount of Ether that was collected from the 3 NFTs that we saw in the smart contract. So you, as the owner of the smart contract or owner of the collection, this will stay. This is like a wallet. This smart contract, this is a 721 smart contract. It holds tokens. You hold those tokens. If you want to transfer that to your wallet, you have to execute a withdraw function on the smart contract. And you know what? I'll do it in this video or the next video. I'll just do that in a quick second so you can see how it's done. It's very simple. Like, it's just a withdraw function. That's all. Okay, so what do we want to export from an information standpoint from this contract so we can show that on the website? So what we can do is we can go to the token itself, right? And we can grab this information, right? So let's say, our token max supply is 1,000. We already got 3 minted. So what we want to see on the website is like, total supply, and then we can show 3 out of 1,000. So that tells the buyers, hey, there's already 3 tokens minted from the smart contract. So we're left with 997 tokens, right? So that's a great way to show it. That's one thing that we can show by using an API call. So what we are actually exporting from Etherscan is this value right here, 3. And then we'll call it on the website, and it's going to be shown like that number on the website. And what is happening on the back end is just doing an API call and grabbing that information in real time. Like I said, I can find this information inside the blockchain, but if we want to go that route, it's not an API call, it will be a Web3 call. It's a little bit more complex to code, and the user will need to connect their wallet to see the value on the website. This does not. The user doesn't need to see, doesn't need to connect their wallet, and this will still show. So that's the benefit, okay? So let's go ahead and work with that. First thing we got to do, we have to create an account in Etherscan. And this will be our account, right? Because we need to request an API key, because they require the call to be authenticated. So it needs to send an API key, so then we can get data back from them via an API call. So let me go to the mainnet, and you can see here, sign in. If you don't have an account, you can go ahead, create one. It's free. Once you get the account, then we can actually go and log in to the Etherscan. And I just made this key, and with this key, I can use that to perform the API call. So I can attach the API key. And how do you do it? You actually go onto your Etherscan account, and then you click API keys, and then there's a button here that says add. You can add one API key. You copy this, and this is the value that we need to import in React, so then we can go ahead and do the API call. So once we get that information, we can start interacting with their API. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. Okay, so now what we need to do is that we need to create a new constant, and inside this constant, we need to store the API key. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to write constant, and we can call this API key equals, and we can say paste. That is my API key. Okay, boom. So we now got the API key. It's available on the site. I just store that in a variable. Now I can actually say, well, I have this key. I can use that now onto the instruction. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do now, we're going to discuss the API function. So I I am working on the Etherscan documentation for the Wrinkle-by testnet because I need to know what are we going to look for in order for us to retrieve the data that we want, right? So basically, what this site will do, and you can see it here, docs etherscan.io v wrinkle-by-etherscan. You just do a Google foo, and that should be it. So first things first, we need to know, where are we targeting that API call? Are we targeting that to an URL? How do we know that URL? That's documentation is there for. So that will be the URL that we need to invoke on the React server, so it can retrieve the information that we're looking for in the API call. So for Wrinkle-by, we know that this will be the URL that we need to use. So we have to keep that in mind, okay? Now, let's say we want to get information from the tokens. I believe it's going to be the tokens. Okay, so you can see here, this is a normal API call. So this is basically an HTTPS request, and what it's going to do is just going to query this this URL or this API endpoint, and it's going to get into the API module. Let me explain what is that. Okay, so I decided to do this quick PowerPoint presentation. It's going to be way easier for you to understand API. So let's take, for example, Etherscan's documentation. So on Etherscan's docs, and I can pull the documentation here. So on the documentation for the Wrinkle-by testnet in Etherscan, it shows us that we got the API endpoint address, and we just mentioned that endpoint is where we send the API request. Now I need to tell that particular request, hey, this is what I need, or this is what I want from the call. So they're saying basically Etherscan is requesting to call the module. So the API will have a set of, it's going to have a tree of sections. So they might have, a module for holders, a module for smart contract, a module for accounts, etc. So in this case, they're saying, hey, if you want to get Ether balance for a particular address, in this case, a smart contract or wallet address, please run this to get the information. So we now know that we are running a get action on the API call because we want to get a particular value out of their database. Okay, so in this case, we're calling the module account. What action are we going to trigger with the get balance? So we are going to get the balance of a particular account. Which account? Please provide the address, right? Tag, they're giving you the option to get the latest information from this particular address, right? The latest information regarding the balance from this particular address. And obviously you have to specify the API key, meaning that in order for us to successfully perform this call, I have to be authenticated. So that's why we got our API key first. Now knowing this, let me grab this information, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to PowerPoint, and we are going to write the full API call in HTTPS format, so you can see how everything is just parceled into one large request. So we have API. So this is how everything looks structurally. We got the API. Inside the API, we got a module called account. The module account includes a get function or a get action. What options do we have as far as calling the get in the module account for the API in Etherscan? We got the option for balance. We got the action for holders. I'm just making this one up. As well as supply. I don't know if they have it, but I just want to give you the information out, so you can have an idea what we're talking here. So let's say I need to find information regarding the holders. So you go into the Etherscan documentation, and if there is a section for holders, you should be able to see what options do we have with get, or what kind of data can we retrieve from their site using the get. If they have an action for holders, perfect. Then we just need to know how do we set that up, and that's on the documentation, and you should be good. Also supply. Let's say we want to get the max amount of tokens minted on the smart contract, then probably it's going to be supply. I'm not sure what the API call for that one is, but I'm just making supply up here just as an example. So you see there's a module, there's an action, and there's the options for that particular action. In this case, module is account. We got the action of get. What are we going to get? You know, we can get the balance, we can get the holders, we can get the supply. That's up to the developer of what they're providing us on the documentation. For a paid subscription, they probably will give you more data, right? But you have to pay. It's like a API Pro call. In that case, you'll get access to more data, and that will be tied to your API key, which will be allowed to talk that way. Now that we know this, what I want to do, I just copy the whole information from the site. Let me get back here and let me see if I can copy this. So I guess I got to do it this way, right? I gotta grab this, right? And then I gotta copy, go back, paste, go back. I want to construct the entire thing. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy every single thing and you'll see it. Okay, so this is the information that we see on the Etherscan website. This is the entire API call. So basically what's going to happen, you're going to have this entire address. I'm actually just combining everything onto one liner. And you should see what are we talking about here. So this is the entire API call in this particular address. So when we execute this address, obviously you have to replace this with your API token and this with the address that you want to retrieve the balance of that particular account, right? But once we tell Axios, hey, this is my path, I should be able to get the information back. If the call is done successfully, I should retrieve the information that this action balance is giving us. Okay, so this is a one-liner to do the whole thing. What we need to do now in ReactJS is we have to create a script. We have to code this in JavaScript. So this particular call gets done and it gets stored in a variable, which then we'll just grab the variable and throw it in HTML so we can see it on the screen. So that's all it's doing. It's basically grabbing this entire liner, doing the API call with all the information that we need. Once the API call is done, it gets stored on a variable, which then we can display as text in the website. Okay, so this is all we're doing. Okay, so with that said, in our next video, we are actually going to configure the API call, and you can see that live in action. I wanted to give you first a rundown of what an API call is and how can we use the API call to retrieve information from a block explorer. This does not only apply to Etherscan. This is literally in every single every major project in blockchain. You will have an API interface that you can have this kind of interaction with. So that's very useful. I think it's very powerful for you to understand what API calls are, and we can use that to get the information that we need without having to code a lot of stuff in Solidity or JavaScript just to talk to the blockchain and get the same information. Literally, a single line will give you the same information as a big code that we need to code in JavaScript just to get it from the blockchain. So this is why we should learn this as well. Okay, so our next video, I am going to configure this. We're going to test it out and we'll go from there. All right, so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That will really, really help me. And also don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.